Hello everyone, welcome to another Esoteric Saturday where we talk about esoteric concepts. And today we're talking about apotheosis, which may seem like a relatively blasphemous topic to some viewers. I hope I'm not shocking too many people when I tell you that apotheosis means the experience of the self as God. Now, that doesn't mean that apotheosis means that you go around believing that you are God. It is the belief that we only experience a small amount of what it is to be ourselves on a daily basis, and that through certain techniques, it is possible to experience more of what it means to be oneself. To the point where you experience what it's like to be complete. And that completeness and perfection is temporary, to say the least, but it is a very useful experience to take with you into the future. Apotheosis. So if we take the self as our daily experience of what we are, that is, our body, the parts of the mind that we experience on a day-to-day basis, the way you think of yourself as existing in the world, that is just a very small part of what actually makes you you. On top of this everyday self, you have the subconscious mind, which, well, some people say that it's the horses which are actually doing the pulling of the cart, while the self is in charge of pointing out the direction. The subconscious mind is actually doing most of the heavy lifting of what happens to you. It's what you experience when you are dreaming most of the time. And you'll notice that, of course, dreams sometimes require interpreting, and not just sometimes. They have a language all of their own. They don't manifest themselves in logical neocortex understandable or accessible ways. The subconscious tends to express itself in symbols. Okay, so then beyond the subconscious mind, there's the collective unconscious, if we're following Jung's model. If you can get past those layers to more general layers of your mind, which are actually accessible, you can experience yourself as God, and from that perspective you can see how limiting and reduced this little me or you it actually is. It's not something that you can experience permanently. Maybe it is, but it's not recommended, and I'll tell you why. Is because the self does need to keep itself alive, right? We have a hypothalamus, which is basically, here we go, over here, more or less. And this part of the brain, this hypothalamus, what it does is that it keeps our bodies alive. It's what makes us breathe without thinking about it. It's what makes our heart pump without thinking about it. It's what makes us hungry. It's what makes us thirsty. It's what makes us want to procreate. It's what makes us want to survive as an individual and as a species. And it's essential as a physiological, biological being that this part of our brain keeps us grounded and rooted so that we can stay alive. right? Not just alive, but also create new versions of ourselves and survive as a species. It's what we're designed to do, and it's what this hypothalamus makes sure that we can do. However, there are ways of putting it to sleep temporarily, and that is a good idea to do once in a while. It's a good idea to do that so that you can know, not just intellectually, but experientially, that there is more than just this physical life. There is more than just this this material self. And what happens is that when you put this hypothalamus to sleep, you can experience a lot more of what is accessible to the mind than you could if it was working and making sure that you're thinking about eating, sleeping, drinking, or rather keeping yourself hydrated, interacting with other humans, procreating, and doing the other things that keep you alive. Right? So once again, this is a vital part of you. If you damage it, it's a problem. But you can deprive it of sugar, you can deprive it of oxygen temporarily, and it just stops working as well as it used to. Okay, so that's what, for example, Aldous Huxley did when he took 0.4 grams of mescaline, basically depriving his hypothalamus of sugar, and experienced reality in a new way, in a way that he wasn't used to, and subsequently wrote The Doors of Perception. Another way of putting it to sleep is to deprive it of oxygen, and you can do that by increasing the amount of CO2, carbon dioxide, that's in your bloodstream, and you can do that by breathing exercises. So yogic breathing, of course, can generate a much higher level of carbon dioxide in your blood, and thereby put to sleep your hypothalamus. Another way of increasing carbon dioxide is singing. In a lot of churches, people sing before anything particularly spiritual is supposed to happen, and they sing for quite a long time, hymns and carols and so on and so forth, and it increases your carbon dioxide, puts your hypothalamus to sleep, and puts you more in touch with these larger layers. Okay, makes all of this a lot more tangible to you, a lot more accessible to you. All right. The same thing in some evangelical churches, where they like speaking in tongues. So absolutely increasing the amount of CO2 in the bloodstream. So there we go. Various techniques for putting the hypothalamus to sleep, and once you've experienced apotheosis, of course, that's done. You don't have to experience apotheosis on a permanent basis. There's a nice story in which let's go with a man is secluded in a dark room, and all he knows is that when he was going into the room, he saw that there's a snake in the room. And he's in there for quite a long time, and he's just terrified that in this dark room, which he can't see, there is a snake somewhere in there. And he's really, really frightened, he's terrified, and then one day the door opens and someone turns the light on just for a moment, and he sees that it's not a snake, it's a rope. And then the light goes off again. Suddenly, his fear is gone. He knows everything he needs to know not to have that fear anymore. He doesn't need to have the light on permanently. It helps, you know, or it's nice. It doesn't necessarily help. It's nice. Whether the light's on or off, he'll still be in this room. But now that the light has been on just for that little fraction of a second, he knows that this is not a snake. It's a rope. It's nothing to fear. And therefore his whole experience thereafter is completely changed. So in that sense, it is useful to experience what it's like when your hypothalamus is not working 100%. Now, putting the hypothalamus to sleep is not by any means the only way of experiencing apotheosis. There are psychological means of achieving the same thing, and I will introduce you to one of those techniques in our next video on next Saturday. So I really hope to see you then. Take care for now, and as I say, if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I do really recommend that you go and check out the playlist that I've posted down in the description. And thank you so much as always for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. These videos come out on a reasonably regular basis, and I will see you next time. Take care.